Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. Today is Charlton and Big C Sports. We do real talk every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time and worldwide. Big C, I want to thank all of our listeners from Latin America for listening in. So bienvenidos to you. Also,
and hola to you, Charlton.
and hola to you too, Big C. And then also, wait a minute, are they speaking Spanish down in the South, Big C? Is that what we're saying?
Well, we're not that far from the border that Donald Trump wants to close up and everything, Charlton. So we have a lot of Latin American friends down here.
Well, don't close the borders to London, England, or Berlin, Germany, or the great country of Canada, because we want to thank you for tweeting out also the Charlton and Big C Sports every Monday through Friday, 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and also on the East Coast, Big C, 8 o'clock p.m. where you are. But I know in the world of sports, we're talking about the great season for basketball. The NBA is in full swing. This is the most exciting time of the year for me, Big C. When the playoffs come around, baseball is still trying to climb the ladder and grab America's interest. And we know football is like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and not just in the SEC, but I think the NFL has fallen the SEC's lead, Big C.
So when you look at the NFL right now, with their OTAs going on, but you have one team who've stretched it to the extreme, the Baltimore Ravens,
yep.
Charlton, where Coach Harbaugh had the rookies out there in pads and saying after 5 to 10 minutes he realized that was something that was improper. Now, I got to think he's been a head coach in the NFL for close to a decade, so
yeah.
Does he have CTE or what, Charlton?
Well, but it's, in fairness to Coach Harbaugh, he doesn't have a watch, Big C, and he doesn't know he doesn't have a calendar, so it just slipped his mind. Some things are allowed to slip your mind. Football coaches never cheat, Big C.
Well, let's hope that he gets the play calls right during the season, Charlton. His practice is slipping his mind.
Well, we understand that too. And also, speaking of slipping his mind, this segment is also sponsored by Bud Light. And as we always talk about, you good old boys like it because it helps you stay hydrated, but you also lose weight, Big C. Is that what I understand?
Well, with the humidity that they have down in the South, Charlton, you can't always have a hit of moonshine. So you take a little lesser consumption in the Bud Light,
yes.
And it keeps your pores wide open.
And speaking of wide open, I also want to just say that when we talk about sports business, and you know how when you talk about track and field, there's a lady, I think her name is Ella Mae Colbert. She's 100 years old, and she actually ran a good 40 time. I think she ran a little bit faster than Carson Wentz, Big C.
Well, Charlton, you want to take your hat off to this young woman, Charlton. She's 100 years old.
Yeah.
And on Tuesday, they feel that she set a new Guinness record for a 100-year-old citizen running a 100-yard dash.
Yeah.
And when you think about this, Charlton, 100 years. Now, she was born in 1915.
Yeah.
So she's eclipsed a lot of time and a lot of people in her lifetime. And, when she started the race, Charlton, she went out and she fell after the first 8 to 10 yards.
Yeah.
And she fell and cut her chin.
Yeah.
But she was not deterred, just like she has not been deterred in life, Charlton, being a retired school teacher, having administered and assisted so many of America's youth in South Carolina over the decades.
Yeah.
She got up with the perseverance that she had instilled and showed over the decades in her profession and finished the race. It's like what you had talked about before. If you have a plan in life, if you have a goal, go out and execute it. Don't worry about someone else. And that's what Miss Colbert did, Charlton. She went out, she had a plan, she executed it, and she ran a time about 46.79. I think that's about a half a second slower than me, Charlton.
Yeah, I understand.
So, I think I would have got her at the tape.
Well,
But, I just want to send out all the love and admiration from us and the rest of our listeners to this young woman in South Carolina, Charlton.
Oh, yeah. And see, the inspiring thing, because we all have parents and grandparents, and when you think about it, too, we all have some aches and pains, but here's a woman that's an inspiration. I always try to get out, maybe jog and walk about 4 to 5 miles every day, and if I get in my 30 miles a week, then I feel good, but I look at someone that has that type of stamina, and I think there was a thing when Bill Clinton was president. It was called Get Out and Walk, and I know he had a heart procedure, and his doctor said if you walk more every day, it'll help you live longer. It helps your heart stay healthier. So here's a woman who has just a great attitude in showing everybody, even if you could just put in 10 minutes a day. Go out and walk around the block for just 10 minutes. I'm just so proud of her, Big C.
Well, Charlton, also, and what's so inspiring about this also, this just came on the heels of the closing of the Invictus Games in London, England.
Yeah.
The games that Prince Harry had promoted for the wounded veterans of foreign wars.
Yeah.
And when you looked at the inspiration of those men and women that were involved in Invictus Games, I remember one young lady who had won her third gold medal, Charlton, and Prince Harry was presenting it to her.
Yeah.
And when she got down off the podium, she re-presented it back to him and asked Prince Harry to give it to the doctors and nurses who had saved her life.
Yeah.
Inspiring stories like that in the world of sports and in the world of life, Charlton, go unnoticed. But all of this was accomplished by Prince Harry's efforts, just as you look at Miss Colbert.
Yeah.
She had a following from the community, from her former students, former staff members, that she had inspired so many that they all wanted to be involved in this feat of hers. And it was just as great as the Invictus Games with Prince Harry hosting, as well as what Miss Colbert had done on Tuesday in South Carolina, Charlton.
Yeah, that's true, Big C. And I know that it was actually the NFL. They have a thing with Cam Newton. It's called Play 60, where they want kids to get out and just do something 60 minutes a day out in the schoolyard, even if you got to go to the park.
What is that going to do about the Madden game, Charlton? If kids get out of the house for 60 minutes, then Madden sales will go down.
Well, hey, we like Madden game. I think they can put the app on your phone. You can walk around in the park playing Madden on your phone, Big C. So that's something they can also do. And also thinking of playing Madden on your phone, and we were talking about the NFL with the Baltimore Ravens trying to get in some extra overtime. I think even Lynn Swann has the good old boys down at USC. They're putting in overtime as they get ready to go down and beat the big old boys from Alabama in the kickoff classic. Yeah.
You're making this allegation of overtime. So what you're saying is that Lynn Swann is talking about paying players in Southern California?
Well,
so when you use the connotation of overtime, Lynn Swann goes, oh, wait, we're not actually paying them money now.
Well, it's funny, Big C, when you bring that up, because I think they got all their scholarships back from the Reggie Bush fiasco, and he's been on TV a lot lately. But I know that Alabama and USC will probably they'll dress about 80 players, fly 80 guys on an airplane to the great state of Texas. I don't know how much it costs to fly, because they probably have a coach, or they'll have a private jet fly them, or however they do it, Big C. And how will they travel?
Down here in the South, we like to do it on charter.
Okay.
I would imagine out west, you guys will probably be flying Southwest Airlines or something.
I thought they were going to ride the Trojan horse into the great state of Texas, but they know those good old boys might try to corral those horses. It's just a mascot, not something for keeping, Big C. But I know I was talking about the USC-Alabama game. The point spread is already out, and some players have Alabama favored by as much as 10. And some posters have USC favored by as much as 3 points. Any thoughts, Big C, back in the South? Are you guys focused on that game now the way they are here in California, Big C?
Well, Charlton, we look at it like a spring game, okay? We're bringing in an opponent that we're going to practice opening up the season with. There's no need in setting ourselves up to lose our opening game. So you bring in one of those weak sisters, you pay them a generous salary for coming in, taking that butt whooping,
right,
and send them on back home. And so that's what Alabama's looking at, Charlton. Now, you got to understand Lane Kiffin, the offensive coordinator for Alabama, is still close to that program. He's very familiar with a lot of players that most likely were in high school during the time that he was recruiting.
Yeah.
So, he's familiar with the actions of USC. And if you look at the head coach, his name is Clay, and I can't think of his name.
Clay Helton.
Yeah, Clay Helton. Now, he worked under Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
So he has a lot of Lane Kiffin's philosophies, Charlton, when you think about it. So being knowledgeable of what USC is going to do, I think Alabama may have the slight edge. That's why you see that 10-point spread.
Well, see, the point is the 10-point spread came out before they realized that USC got the notice, don't drink the Gatorade. they know the Gatorade is spiked, Big C. But USC has 16 returning players, and they have most of those guys are being projected as in the top 3 rounds of the NFL draft. So I think it's going to be a fantastic game. And I think that's one of the reasons that Lynn Swann came back. He didn't do it for free like he's telling the athlete. He's actually getting paid, Big C. And so when that game kicks off, it's going to be kind of the national championship in the preseason, Big C. Your thoughts on that?
Well, Alabama's been in the top 5 in the country, Charlton, for the past 5 years. They're not worried about any opponent that line up. So when you think about Alabama last season, Charlton, and they had 20 of the top 100 freshmen in the country on their team.
Yeah.
So they didn't lose any of those players in the NFL draft, Charlton, so they're back as well as what they loaded up with in their recruiting class.
Yeah.
So this is a team, all they have to do is figure out what they're going to do at quarterback. That's Alabama's only shortcoming right now, figure out what they're going to do at quarterback.
What they're going to have to do at quarterback is duck, because USC has a ferocious defensive line. See, that's his play called duck.
Well, you know, Charlton, we'll get them down here and get them some barbecue and something they're not accustomed to there in California. And, you know, we get them some whole hog and a couple of slabs of brisket.
They're bringing their own food.
They'll slow down a little bit.
That's so funny, Big C. But that's a great game. Looking forward to. And speaking of a great game, this segment is also sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealer, home of the all-new Escalade, the standard of the world. And you can only get it new at your NorCal Cadillac dealer. Now, Big C, I know that we love football, but we also love our basketball too. The NBA draft, you know, everybody's hyped on getting these college kids, and they build so much time around how a college kid is going to help an NBA team. And I know that you understand that if you have the NBA experience, you're a lot better than any kid coming out of college. But if we look back in the day, they had Stanley Johnson was drafted 8th overall by the Detroit Pistons in 2015. He averaged 8.1 points a game and 4.2 rebounds his rookie season. So why is that so important that he was drafted the 8th overall pick when you're only averaging 8 points a game? I think that's just 2 baskets by my math, Big C.
Well, you know, when they put so much precedent, just like in the NFL draft. You're drafting people that you say are not ready to play, but in 2 years, potentially, they'll be the ones who are the savior to your franchise. And now, anybody who gets drafted in the first round, they don't draft them even 2 years from now to be sitting on the bench. The guy that's in front of him knows that he's going to lose his job just by default.
Yeah.
And when you look at the Lakers, you know, they finished second in the lottery again last night, Charlton.
Yeah.
But also, the last time they finished in that position, they picked Michael Bennett.
Yeah.
Out of UNLV, who subsequently was traded the following season, Charlton, because he did not pan out in the Lakers scheme of things.
Yeah.
But I think when you're looking at the draft this year, the Lakers have the better hand, because whoever the Sixers don't take, he just falls to the Lakers. And so the Lakers have a win-win in that scenario, because they're not burdened with the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
But when you look at the top 2 picks, it's only a number 1A and a number 1.
Yeah.
That's just how close they are. So, and I'll take you back to a team that's playing in the playoffs right now. The Golden State Warriors at one time had the chief, Robert Parrish, out of Centenary. He had been a number 1 draft pick.
Back in 1976.
They traded him to the Boston Celtics around 1980, Charlton.
Yeah.
For another number 1 draft pick out of Purdue. His name was Joe Barry Carroll, who was projected by all these draft experts to be the next great center in the NBA.
Yeah.
And what Joe Barry Carroll is most noted for in his NBA career is being posterized by Sean Kemp with a monster dunk.
Yeah.
But Robert Parrish went on to win 3 championships as an anchor of the Boston Celtics front line with Larry Bird, Karen McHale, Charlton.
Yeah, that's excellent knowledge, basically. Another great stud over the years is Willis Reed, drafted 8th overall by the New York Knicks in 1964. That was a great year that I was born. He averaged 19.5 points a game and 14.7 rebounds. In his first season, it was named Rookie of the Year. When you talk about guys like Willis Reed, and when you talked about the great Robert Parrish, these are guys that are Hall of Famers. And I think they put so much emphasis on a kid, and like especially at Kentucky, Big C, down there in the good old Southeast. They play about 1 season of college basketball. How are they worth the talk of a Robert Parrish or a guy like Willis Reed, Big C?
Well, you know, Willis Reed personifies what we talked about a lot on our show, Charlton, the traditional black colleges, okay?
Yeah.
Willis Reed was out of Grambling. Number 1 draft pick, Rookie of the Year. He was known as the captain with the New York Knicks when they won 2 NBA championships back in 1969 and 1971.
Yeah. He
was the leader of that team. And in that 69 championship, Charlton, Willis Reed injured his knee for the Game 7. It was sort of like the Magic Johnson scenario as a rookie against the Philadelphia 76ers when they won it all his rookie year.
Yeah.
Willis Reed hobbled onto the court, Charlton. He didn't play but 4 minutes in that game. but he was such an inspirational leader and vice for the New York Knicks.
Oh, yeah.
Is that they went on to beat the Los Angeles Lakers and win the Knicks' first ever NBA championship. So when you look at these players that they're drafting number one overall and even in the top 10, Charlton, I think that the thing that the NBA lacks now is character with these young men. They're underdeveloped mentally as well as some of them physically. And they're drafting them based on potential. Physical potential only, Charlton. They're not drafting them based on mental potential. And that's why we've seen so many of these young players, Charlton, in the past decade lose their spots in the NBA and have this off-the-court trouble. You know, we think about Greg Oden a few years back, who was supposed to be the next great player in the NBA out of Ohio State. He was drafted number one by Portland. And that's a history for Portland. Don't draft the big man number one, you know, because when you think about the history they've had with him, they had LaRue Martin out of LaSalle in Chicago. They had Bill Walton, even though they did win a championship, but his career was plagued by injuries. And, you know, alleged marijuana use when he was in Portland.
Allegedly. They don't do that up in Portland. I don't even think they grow that green stuff up in Portland, Big C, do they?
You know, it rains a lot.
Okay. Natural recycle system, right?
So when you look at what big men have and the problems that they've had in the NBA and these number one picks as of late, Charlton, these guys are too young to develop into the true team leaders. You have it there in Sacramento with your kid Cousins. And, you know, we look at his antics on the court, his disrespect for the head coach, a coach who had a wealth of NBA knowledge and college knowledge, but, you know, he felt he didn't have to listen to him because there was nothing he could learn. He had done his 1 year in college under John Calipari, so what else could he learn from a Hall of Fame coach?
And it's funny that you bring that up because you talk about Calipari and how they get these scholarship athletes that come there and they only go to the school for about 6 months because that's about the length of the basketball season, and they declare for the draft. Well, people think, well, he spent a year in college. No, he spent the basketball season in college. After that, they declare for the NBA.
Well, no, Charlton, he ironically did not spend the basketball season in college. What he did was spend the football season in college. Because during the basketball season, he didn't have time to go to college. You know, he was always on the road. He was always at practice. So when you think about basketball players having the time to spend in college, their work schedule, their practice and game schedule.
Don't call it work. You got to call it practice.
It is a lot more intense than what a football player is, because when you think about, as a basketball player, if you play 2 road games in 1 week, at what point did you attend class? You know, you have to be realistic about that, and I think that's one of the things that the NCAA has to stop being dishonest about. Saying that these are student athletes. Say that these are manipulated athletes. They're not student athletes. It's very few of these players who get their degree. Now, you have to have a world of respect for someone like Jay Billis, Clark Kellogg, these individuals who played at a high level in college. They've gotten their degrees in their professions. They work on television as analysts. Now, those are true college athletes, student athletes. But they can't go back and name you 8 teammates that either one of them that had that level of success academically that they achieved, Charlton.
I agree.
The NCAA, should not be dishonest to the public about how they're manipulating, using, and exploiting college athletes.
Well, it's just like slavery in a sense, because if you're getting free labor, why would you pay for it? And that's how the NCAA looks at it. Again, we talk about the USC-Alabama game, how the Trojans are getting ready to beat up on are you guys call the horses or the elephants? What do you guys call? The Crimson Tide?
It's what they're going to do, Charlton, with the Trojans.
Okay.
What they say, roll tide, so we got to wipe some butt.
Okay, well, I can understand that, but you think about how much money it's going to take for them to put 80 players on airplanes and fly them from the West Coast and the Southeast into the great state of Texas. How much money is going to take to house these student athletes for about 3 or 4 days? Most games that are played on Saturday, they actually fly in on about a Thursday to get ready on Friday to walk through, and then they play the game Saturday, and they fly back home. How much money that cost, and how much money they're going to make from sponsorship, Big C, and the athletes get a thank you and a hat on the back and a pat on the back, Big C.
Well, starters, I don't think they're going to be staying in Motel 6, where they need a ride on. Let's take that out of the equation.
Okay.
You got to have at least 3 or 4 of these big charter buses to move each team around, Charlton.
Yeah.
And when you talk about chartering a plane, because these players are too big to be riding coach on a commercial airline, Charlton, so you're going to need a chartered special plane with seats that accommodate these hulking linemen that they have. You know, it's only so many first-class seats on a plane.
Yeah.
So you got to have a special team plane to haul this players around. And then you're talking about food consumption, Charlton. Yeah. These guys, I mean, you're not going to be going through the drive-in at Taco Bell, you know, on that dollar menu.
Hey, wait, there's nothing wrong with Taco Bell and the dollar menu. And speaking of dollars, if you want to understand, this segment is also sponsored by your Northern California BMW dealer, home of the ultimate driving machine. Go down and test drive all the way from the 1 Series all the way up to the flagship 600 horsepower M7, also known as the 760 Li. And you go down and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Now, Big C, one more player I want to touch on as we talk about some of these great draft picks that are being projected as great draft picks. And we look at some of the teams. Rudy Gay. Now, this guy was drafted by the Houston Rockets at number 8 in 2006, and a month later was sent to the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, he averaged 10.8 points and 4.5 rebounds as a rookie. He's here in Sacramento now. But just to go down the draft order, as you already touched on, Big C, we have the great Philadelphia 76ers picking at number 1, the Lakers at number 2, Boston, they're the number 3 pick from Brooklyn, and then Phoenix, followed by Minnesota, New Orleans, Denver, and then the Sacramento Kings, followed by Toronto, Milwaukee, Orlando, Utah, Phoenix, and Chicago. But the great thing that you brought up earlier, when you brought up Robert Parrish, when you brought up Willis Reed, how these guys are Hall of Famers. Rudy Gay probably won't be a Hall of Famer, but neither will anyone playing at the 1 year and done college level right now, Big C. I think there's some things that get really clear up about that. And as we get into the next segment, Big C, we know we have Golden State playing tonight, and this is a must-win game for them. I was surprised they had a 13-point halftime lead over OKC at Oracle Arena, and they let it get away. But I'm not too surprised that they lost the battle of the boards because OKC really pounds the boards, Big C. Your thoughts on the game coming up?
You know, Charlton, we talked about that in our pregame before the game, is that I felt that Steven Adams and Andrew Bogut would be the most quintessential parts of the game.
Yeah.
And when you look at what Adams had, he had a double-double, Charlton, in that game. You know, everybody wanted to berate him for the comment he made after the game.
Yeah, that was innocent.
But his true praise came during the game, getting a double-double.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, Bogut had a goose egg on everything. No points, no rebounds, no assists, no blocks.
Yeah.
But Adams dominated the game, Charlton, and that was the difference when we talk about being in the post. Now, all those outside shooters get all the credit for shooting three-point shots and everything.
Yeah.
But in the end, it came down to the big in the middle, Charlton, that was the determining factor in the game.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen. If they can't get anything out of Bogut, maybe they're going to have to play Barnes in the middle, a little more speed, a little more outside shot, and be able to pull Adams out of the paint a little bit. But, you know, right now, they just don't have an answer for him. Now, they're going to have to be a little more sharper on the outside shots. Golden State didn't shoot that high percentage in the second half.
1 of 10 from three-pointers in the second half. That's not good enough.
And they seem to force those shots, Charlton.
Yeah.
So they have to get back in rhythm. If they expect to win this game, they're going to have to be in rhythm. But also, OKC, Charlton, went to the free throw line and had 32 attempts at the free throw line.
Yeah, and a couple of fouls, too. That's a referee thing, though, Big C. Both, if the most physical team goes to the line more times than the less physical team, that seems like there's some officiating going on because Golden State, they get to the line too, but they also don't get fouled as much as Golden State is being called for fouls, Big C.
Charlton, you got to look at it from this perspective. When OKC is at the free throw line, what is Golden State doing? They're standing and watching. Yeah. They're not pressing the ball up and down the court. That's OKC playing defense when they're at the free throw line. They're not allowing Golden State to get into the offense. And that's the thing that's overlooked by everybody is they're saying, what's wrong with Golden State? What's wrong with Golden State is that Oklahoma City is playing defense by going to the free throw line, not allowing them to run and press the ball up and down the court.
Yeah, and I think that's when you get, if you're not hitting threes, and I know Charles Barkley talks about it all the time, if you're not hitting threes, you got to get to the basket. That's why I think Draymond Green can be a big factor in tonight's game. If it's not open for him, don't focus on taking threes. Give that to Thompson and also Curry. But it should be a great matchup tonight, Big C, for the NBA. But another point I want to bring up to you also, Cleveland I don't think Toronto was ready. I think they were still celebrating from a 7-game series with Miami because it looked like emotionally they didn't even show up for the game last night. And I know Cleveland's a good team, and you think they're playing the best basketball right now, even though LeBron James calls it his team. They did look impressive last night against a tired Toronto team, Big C.
I think Toronto had a little Drake hangover talking when they got into the game. They were too worried about the next rap song that they were going to be in, and they got wrapped upside the head by the Cavaliers. Seemed like.
I think Drake wrote a song called "Jump Man, Jump Man." They should have been jumping more, trying to block some shots last night, Big C.
So when you look at what the Cavaliers have done in the playoffs, everybody's going to sing LeBron's praise, and rightfully so. He's a tremendous, tremendous athlete. But this team in the playoffs is gone as Kyrie Irving is gone.
Yeah.
And LeBron James would be best served. I mean, he has all the trophies and MVP and the rings and everything. But he would be better served to play in the role that he's playing in now. Allow Kyrie Irving to facilitate.
Yeah. Let
everything go through him. That's what has made Cleveland so great over the last 9 games and really the last month and a half of the NBA season.
Yeah.
Now, Tyronn Lue, the head coach, Charlton, gets no notoriety for helping.
Wait, hold on. Tyronn Lue's the coach? Because I saw LeBron with about 5 athletes gathered around him. He was actually on the floor telling people what to do. I think Lue was just sitting down getting his paycheck, Big C. That's what I saw anyway, but I might be biased.
The atmosphere of the team had changed once Tyronn Lue came in, and he has that championship pedigree, Charlton. Now, Tyronn Lue won championships with the Lakers when Kobe and Shaq were together.
Yeah.
And he's most noted in his NBA career when Allen Iverson, in that first game of City series, put up 44 points, and after he hit a three-pointer from the corner, stepped over Lue after he had fallen down.
Yeah, I remember that at the Staples Center. Yeah, I remember that, Big C.
Yeah. But this is a man that's very knowledgeable basketball-wise. He played under Phil Jackson with the triangle offense. He played with great talent with the Lakers.
Yeah.
So he was able to bring that pedigree to Cleveland, and it had instant success.
Yeah.
Now, people are always going to say that, it's LeBron's team. But he's earned that, and he's stated that over the decades being there.
Well, Big C, when you talk about earning, I think, didn't Nike, now this is just rumor, I haven't seen the money, but did Nike sign him to a $1 billion? And, Coach, I want the $100 million, I told you about that. But did they sign him to a $1 billion contract for wearing tennis shoes, Big C?
Well, there's allegedly that, this contract could be worth upwards of $1 billion in totality with all that it involves over time with LeBron James.
He just made Lynn Swann just got jealous because USC didn't give Lynn Swann that kind of money, Big C.
Well, you got to also understand, Charlton, USC wears Nike products, uniforms and shoes. So, he's getting he probably had LeBron send him some Nike gear.
Well, I heard a story that when Nike showed up to try to it was Stephen Curry and also his father was there, that the rep didn't even know his name, and they kept calling him a different name. So that's why Steph Curry didn't sign with Nike. He ended up going with Under Armour, and their stock is rising. But $1 billion, I don't know how you express that. And last session, Big C, this segment is also sponsored by your Northern California Ford dealer, home of the all-new F-150. You can get it only new at your Northern California dealers, and they build it for a tough. When you go down and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. So, Big C, I know we talk a lot about LeBron James, and he's an amazing athlete. I think he is to basketball what Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was to the NBA. I think what Barry Bonds was to Major League Baseball, and then Joe Montana was to the NFL. But I do think there's something on the outside of just being a great athlete. I think when you look at the youth of America, and maybe it doesn't even matter, I just think there's no respect for coaching nowadays. And I think as great as LeBron is, people's actions, and when you got $1 billion, who cares what Charlton and Big C thinks, Big C? But I just think that he's in a position to have more professionalism about himself, but maybe I'm wrong. He's the one with $1 billion, Big C.
Well, yeah, he is the one with $1 billion, Charlton, but to show that he is really politically aware and mature, there's an organization out there, Charlton, it's called the United Negro College Fund, okay?
Yeah.
LeBron didn't go to college, but the United Negro College Fund has always been looking for sponsorship and donors.
Yeah.
Now, you have $1 billion, and I know, if you gave away a couple of $100 million, you might have to get rid of a Bentley or a summer house.
Yeah, he can give it to Charlton and Big C. I'll take the $100 million, Big C.
But the United Negro College Fund would be a tremendous benefactor of some of those funds, because when you think about the number of great minority minds, Charlton, that have gone through those institutions over the years, and those that could develop that don't have the financial wherewithal to be able to get there, Charlton. This is where athletes need to give back. I look at a great athlete in the kid who just, Calvin Johnson, who just retired from the Detroit Lions. And they asked Calvin, how could he walk away with $60 million left on his contract?
$60 million, a lot of money. How could he walk away?
Left on his contract. But he had a great answer, Charlton.
What's that?
He's like, how rich do I need to be comfortable? And that was a great attitude from this young man. He said, I don't have to go out there and be crippled to satisfy you people. I've already made enough money to be comfortable for the rest of my life and my family also. So when I look at a tremendous athlete who has a $100 million contract or $400 million contract,
I'll take it.
Give back to the roots. You have to find a way to get back to the roots.
Wait, Big C, I'll be his roots.
As well as some of the grammar schools often that are around. Help them out.
Hey, Big C, I am not like Lynn Swan, okay? I will take the money. LeBron can donate some of that to Charlton and Big C Sports, okay? I tell you, one more thing, Big C, I want to bring up. And this segment is also sponsored by BeneathHisWingsFoundation.org. Make a donation today. It's easy, it's fast, and it's secure. Also, for promotions, contact Cynthia Evans at CYNN Entertainment. She's the best at promotions in Northern California. And when you tweet out to her, let her know that Charlton and Big C sent you. Now, Big C, in the final section of our program, I just want to bring up this because we talk about football. We talk about baseball and basketball, and we talk about the officials, and they have a tough time. But I want to bring this up. There were several former college football players that filed a class action lawsuit against their universities and their conferences in the NCAA, claiming negligence over head injuries and not being handled well. Now, some of these players come from Penn State, Vanderbilt, and several schools in the Big Ten, as well as the Pac-12 conference and SEC as well. We talked about that earlier, Big C. Once they open the door on college players who are smart enough to realize they're being taken advantage of financially, if they realize they can claim CTE and come back and sue the schools, there has to be some type of opening the Pandora's box. Is that a good or bad thing for football, Big C?
Well, I think it's a good thing for Charlton. Football has manipulated. We talked about the plantation, free slave labor over the decades. And, I recall as a player, Charlton, is that we probably made more money for the ammonia company than any other company out there.
Is that what they put in the moonshine, Big C? Is that the breaking news on the ingredients?
Well, when you were a little woozy, Charlton, they popped these ammonia capsules and stuck them in your nose to inhale to allegedly clear your thoughts. Now, you were concussed, and they gave you ammonia and asked you how many fingers that you had up.
I remember.
And told you to go back on the field. So when you think about the medical advancements, Charlton, and the concussion syndrome and recognition over the decades, there's been tremendous strides. But, the biggest problem, Charlton, is that we talk about the NFL. Is that they're the only ones that matter. Now we're talking about college football like they just showed up. No one is talking about youth football, Charlton. There are more traumatic injuries and deaths each year in youth football than there is in all the NFL and college football combined. Because you don't have the medical staff and expertise at these games or practice, Charlton, protecting the youth. Generally, you have a lot of frustrated jocks, former jocks, out there coaching these kids and saying that you got to hit harder, you got to smash somebody, you got to slam them to the ground. They don't know proper technique and etiquette in teaching these kids. And if the research was done properly, you would see the amount of catastrophic injuries, Charlton, in the Pop 1 and the high school level that would be shocking that if that was made public, you would want to ban football altogether. Not that it ever will be, but just the number and level of the injuries that have occurred with these kids across America, Charlton, is just totally devastating.
Well, I hear that USC, their defense is getting so ready to go down and hit Alabama. Alabama might decide they're going to cancel football also. I think it was one of the great coaches, the great Paul Bear Bryant, when I think one of the USC teams came out there back in the 70s, I believe, and they ran all over those boys with Sam Bam Cunningham, and he said, hey, I got to get me some of those guys. Well, USC recruited a lot more of those guys since Lynn Swan came back to Big C. And this final segment is sponsored by United Labor Insurance, guaranteed $100,000 life insurance, no medical check. Also by Goosehead, property and casualty insurance. We can beat 99% of the people in the business. Tweet out to Charlton and Big C, and also Big C. In the final minute of the program, just sum up what your thoughts are. We talked about some NFL. We talked about some NBA, some of the great draft picks in the past. We also touched on some CTE and some college football. But what's your thoughts coming up tonight's game? OKC and Golden State is a must-win for the Warriors, I think, Big C.
This is truly, Charlton. This is do or die for the Warriors season. You're not going to go down 0-2 and expect to win this series against OKC because the next two games are in OKC.
Yeah.
So I think that the Golden State Warriors, Charlton, truly have to going to be a little more deliberate about the shots that they take.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to keep OKC off the foul line because when OKC is on the foul line, Charlton, that's playing defense against the Warriors. You can't get into your offensive rhythm. But, I expect a great game tonight. I expect a turnaround. People have wondered when Steph Curry is going to get off the snide. This is going to be the game that he's going to have to go for at least 40, Charlton.
Yeah, and I agree.
And if he can do that, Golden State will win. Other than that, they're going to be in serious trouble.
Well, I agree, Big C. I also hope that the game is called well, and I think Oracle is going to be a great place happening tonight. And every Monday, Wednesday through Friday, you can catch Charlton and Big C on the Charlton and Big C Sports Show 5 days a week. And every day we want to bring you something real. We call it Real Talk. And we always thank you for listening in, especially worldwide. So we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope you have a super fantastic day.